Good afternoon, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this afternoon, fake cabbie to spend 11 years in prison for rape and other crimes. Dwayne Redfin, a 37-year-old serial rapist who posed as a taxi operator for years, is to spend 11 years in prison. He was sentenced on Thursday by Justice Dale Palmer in the St. Catharines Circuit Court. Redfin, who pleaded guilty on June 12, was sentenced to 11 years imprisonment on each of 5 counts of rape, 6 years imprisonment on each of the 5 counts of grievous sexual assault, 5 years imprisonment on each count of the 5 counts of forcible abduction, and 6 years imprisonment on each of the 3 counts of robbery with aggravation. The sentences are to run concurrently. Redfin was arrested by the Portmore police in 2017 after a female passenger reported a case of indecent assault while he was pretending to be a legitimate taxi driver in the area. The matter was investigated by the Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offenses and Child Abuse, which collected statements and conducted an identification parade. Redfin was pointed out as the perpetrator and later linked to other cases. He was subsequently charged and remained in custody. He first pleaded guilty in October 2024, but later withdrew his plea until June 12, 2025, when he again admitted to his crimes. Bar operator to serve 9 months for cocaine bust if fines are paid. Oral Johnson, who was held with 23 pounds of cocaine during a police operation in Coral Gardens, St. James, on April 26, 2022, was sentenced to 9 months imprisonment in the St. James Parish Court on Wednesday. Johnson, a bar and restaurant operator of a Westmoreland address, was also ordered by presiding Judge Keisha Grant Price to pay $4.5 million in fines. He was recently found guilty of possession of, dealing in, trafficking, and taking preparatory steps to export cocaine. During Wednesday's sentencing hearing, Johnson's lawyer, Martin Thomas, asked the judge to be lenient, citing Johnson's good social inquiry report, medical issues, and dependent children. He is the father of 3 children, 2 of whom are still dependent on him for support. I have read the social inquiry report on behalf of Mr. Johnson, and I commend it to you as a good report, said Thomas. He suffers from a serious ailment, and I am not sure if this is an ailment that can be treated effectively where he is. We had hoped to have the doctor here today, but he could not be here today, Thomas continued. I ask you to take into consideration that he has no previous convictions, that it is his first offense, and that his probation officer indicates that his risk of reoffending is low. Handing down the sentence, Grant Price said that while she would give him a reduced sentence due to his mitigating circumstances, she had not seen any suggestion of remorse on Johnson's part. I am sending Mr. Johnson to prison, but I have taken his medical condition into account, and I have also taken into account the fact that he has young children that are dependent on him, and all of that would act as mitigating circumstances, said Grant Price. Johnson was sentenced to a mandatory 9 months in prison for possession of cocaine and taking steps to export cocaine, plus a fine of $1.5 million or an additional 9 months on each of those charges. He was ordered to pay $1.5 million or serve 9 months for trafficking cocaine, and he was admonished and discharged for dealing in cocaine. If the fines are paid, Johnson's prison terms will run concurrently. If they are not paid, Johnson's prison terms will run consecutively or one behind the other. On April 26, 2022, Johnson was seen sitting in his parked motor vehicle in Coral Gardens for approximately 20 minutes. When the police accosted him, he reportedly gave conflicting explanations as to why he was in the area, first claiming that he was looking for a friend, and then that he had come to collect money from a woman to whom he had sold the fish. Johnson's vehicle was subsequently searched, and the 9 packages with the cocaine were found. His arrest took place during the same police operation that led to the seizure of US $3.8 million and the Canadian $30,000 valued in local currency at a combined $600 million at a three-story house in Coral Gardens. PNP warns of rising tension over destruction of political posters. General Secretary of the People's National Party, Dr. Dayton Campbell, is warning that there is rising tension over the destruction of political billboards. Over the last several weeks, representatives of both the political parties have complained that their billboards have been either destroyed or defaced. The police have been holding meetings with the political representatives in efforts to keep the peace. Speaking at a party meeting in St. Elizabeth on Wednesday night, Dr. Campbell called for Prime Minister and the JLP leader, Andrew Holness, to intervene.
When he went to Montego Bay, the Prime Minister went on stage with the mayor of Montego Bay and was up there giving tacit approval. Hear him, Mr. Mayor, I see you taking down billboards. We had to go to court for the court to tell them to leave the posters alone. And he now says that he's not in a race to the bottom. And he wants to have a clean campaign. The Prime Minister that changed the law to literally neuter the office of the political ombudsman. So we are now in a contest without a referee to safeguard and protect the democratic process. He's saying he's not in a race to the bottom.
People's National Party candidate for Northeast St. Catherine, Andreen Higgins, said that she has filed a report with the police and the political ombudsman after her posters were destroyed by vandals on the weekend. She made the disclosure at a party meeting.
Last night, you know, I said this, and I hope the media is listening. Them go to where me born and go, right to me yard, and then tear down my poster, and then tear down my flag, and then cuss, and then carry on. But guess what? We never see a poster vote yet. And we never see a flag vote yet. So look here, all you need to do is come out in our numbers.
Police say scammers fueling violence in St. Elizabeth. The St. Elizabeth Police say scammers are fueling a wave of violence across the parish as they fight over ill-gotten gains. Commanding Officer Superintendent Coleridge Minto says several people have so far been charged in connection with these illicit activities.
We continue to pay close attention to activities surrounding that of scamming. Since the start of this year, 8 individuals have been charged under the Law Reform Fraudulent Transaction Special Provisions Act. And for the benefit of our listeners, we have a special unit that is called the Proactive Investigation Unit, PIU, that treats specifically with these persons who deal in these activities. As of July 9th, shootings are down by 46%, robbery is down by 54%, rape, we're seeing 13 cases as against 12 last year, an increase by 1. Murder is 7 versus 18, a reduction of 61%. The latest murder took place the last part of June at a particular nightclub in Santa Cruz. And again, that murder took place coming out of a conflict.
Guys, thank you for watching. See you this evening at 6 p.m. for another news update.